Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Monday. Monday just doesn't, it's not as bad as it used to be. Mondays used to really kind of suck. They created a negative pressure environment, which means they sucked. But now they don't suck as much. I mean, if you got to get up and go to work, then of course it may still suck for you. But for those of us who are still in the quarantine zone kind of situation, then it's just like any other day, any other weekend. Hey, I have got Daniel Fisk Bennett is joining me this morning. Good morning, Daniel. How are you doing?
It is definitely morning. I'm still beating back the sleepy eyes.
Yeah, it's crazy early. We'll have to, me and the wife had that idea about the science segment that you could pre-record. And I thought, man, that would be just right for him. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Good morning, Wooly and Ian. Hi, Ian. How are you doing? I think he was the first here this morning. He was hiding. Brainbug, the Brainbug has joined us this morning. Lee Spanner. Hey, Lee. Good morning, Lee. So new people in the chat. And there's Grumpy Old Dude. For those of you who don't know, Grumpy Old Dude has got his own channel. Brainbug even has her own channel. So go subscribe to these wonderful people. Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope you're ready for a good week. So I managed to talk Daniel into coming back again on the regular. So we wanted to talk about see about working up some kind of science thing, because Daniel's pretty big into the science. I wanted to ask you, because the last time you were on the show, we had that you were talking about the comet that broke up.
So Comet Atlas, yeah. Now I remember you shared with me another article. There was with the comet. Unfortunately, being that it kind of gotten a little bit of a tit for tat with Facebook lately.
Yeah.
Couldn't actually physically respond, but I was reading about it, and I don't know what it is about the southern hemisphere that always gets they get so lucky when it comes down to comets. They had another one about 10 years ago that was absolutely brilliant. Didn't really make the news like it should have, but I mean, just the luck that they've had. We in the northern hemisphere are just we're just that so well.
I know. So yeah, I heard about that. So that's why I sent you that little article. I thought you might be interested in.
Oh yeah, I read about it, and it was just as soon as I realized, like, oh, yep, it's another southern hemisphere comet. So I guess for any Aussie viewers that you have, heads up, you got a comet coming your way for you guys to view. But I mean, for the rest of us poor smucks from the northern hemisphere. Our one hope that we had for a decent comet in this generation, it may have still evaporated. So the way the scale works on the comet, it's I think it is the lower the number, like from 10, 9, 8, 7, on that scale, the brighter it will be. And initially, this thing looks, I think it's like one would be like the sun or something like that.
Right.
But I think initially it looked like it was about a 9 on that scale, and they were, getting super excited. They said this thing was going to be bright and, as big as hell bop was back in the early 90s. And then when the damn thing disintegrated, we kept eyes on it because, kept hoping, and it brightened up a little bit, but it just never recovered. And that's the problem with comets. I mean, it's almost like as soon as you find one, it's just like self-destruct.
Right. When I was young, I was pretty big into that kind of science. The stars and the stuff like that. My scientific interest has shifted from here to here to here. But I still find them interesting.
Yeah, I remember when I was a child. Oh, not a child, a little older. My parents had some friends at JPL, and I believe it was JPL. But anyways, I know we would go there quite often. I remember learning from an actual astronomer there that those glorious pictures that we see of space, like the Eagle Nebula and you see all those colors, and you find out later that, oh yeah, no, they add those colors to it to pull in. They said they add the infrared light to it, but if we were looking at them in person, they would look, white and gray. So they wouldn't be all those beautiful colors. It's just black and white kind of looking.
Yeah, not nearly as interesting.
No,
as
not
as
at
we
all.
thought. True. Good morning, KCA Randy. Lee Spanner has a question for Daniel. For you, are you famous? And if you are, what for? Are you an atheist author? So, again, I'm so used to, we've had you on the show several times. I'm a bad person. I didn't even give you a decent introduction. Hey, this is Daniel. And we went on. So Daniel, you want to tell those new folk who you are and what you do?
So I am the founder of AAPM. If you type in my full name, Daniel Fisk Bennett, and just Google it, I am all the first page results. I don't want to just say I'm famous or anything. I mean, just kind of an activist. I started a science and skepticism group on Facebook. It first started as like a little tiny group. Let's get some friends together, and we started talking about just solid, good skepticism in the scientific community. And it's one thing to be an atheist. I learned there are a lot of atheists, a lot of very dumb and unfounded things. Like, okay, I get it, you don't believe in any, those superstitious kind of things, but here I am looking at you, looking at things like homeopathy and acupuncture, and chiropractic, things that are unfounded forms of quackery, or they believe in other crazy or off the wall oddball things. And so it was one of those. Well, at the time, back in 2014, I was involved in some of the Facebook atheist groups, kind of more during the Wild West days of Facebook, before Facebook really started to kind of cinch in on itself. And there were no actual good skepticism groups. I mean, there were some, but none of them were atheist centered. Right. If you religion was a line not to be trodden on in some of those other skepticism groups, because you would find these, I'm a Christian skeptic, and you're like, and you obviously aren't asking enough questions there, partner. True. It sounds kind of like an oxymoron. I mean, yes, I get it. There are obviously people who are theistic who will do mental gymnastics to justify whatever it is they believe, but it's not good skepticism in my opinion. So at that time, I said, well, hell, let's make a small little group called Atheists Against, what do we do? Atheists Against Pseudoscientific. All right, that's fine. So got a few people that I had met, kind of pulled them here and there. And the group just started snowballing. Pretty soon, there was 50, 100, 200, 300, 1,000, and then it's like, well, hey, let's make this a little bit more. Let's get some people kind of actually adminning and see who wants to help out, and let's make a Facebook page. All right, so then the Facebook page just it explodes. It's within the first, I think it was a couple of months, it was like 10,000, and then it just kept going and kept going, and now 5 years later, it's got 110,000 subscribers to the main page, and the group is 26K and some change.
Wow, that's a lot.
And it's become.
Hey, look, I hate to interrupt you, man. Do you have a better mic or a different mic? What you got is unfortunate. I'm just curious.
I don't. I got the little earpiece in right now.
Is StreamYard actually set to use the earpiece? Because it sounds like we're hearing you off the desktop or something. I'm just.
Yeah, no, I think you're hearing me. You're hearing me off this right here.
There you go. You're right. Okay. Well, we do what we can with what we got. So I'll just carry on. Okay. So there's your your claim to fame is your Facebook page, you said, to answer the question, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, we then created a website and whatnot, and it over the years, we developed some. It took time to develop credibility.
Yeah.
And that was something that we kind of safeguarded, our credibility and being able to have people trust what we said. If we provide information, to be seen as a credible source is a lot of work. It really is. It doesn't take much to really kind of screw that up either. Yeah. Effectively, if you double down on something, you better be damn sure that it's true. Otherwise, you're obviously not providing good scientific inquiry.
Right. Well, maybe one of the things that we could talk about on here with you would be actually, remember we were talking about doing something on the weekly? Because since there's quite a bit of pseudoscience out there, maybe you could point out something specific that's going on and talk about that, because there's a lot.
Oh yeah. So I mean, here's something that's kind of funny, or I don't know if I'm going to say funny, but just kind of eye roll worthy. Anti-vaxxers are already starting to organize to rail against the new COVID-19 vaccine that hasn't even been developed yet. It's just mind-blowing. I was looking into it, and you can see they're already trying to come up with whatever talking points. And it's like, we haven't even come up with the damn vaccine yet, and you guys are already against it.
Okay.
And yet you have millions, you have thousands of people getting sick and dying from this every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering about that. There's been a meme come across my internet talking about things. I wonder what the anti-vaxxers are doing now because of blah, blah, blah. And that is, I guess that's a pretty good, now we know, huh? That kind of not surprised, not surprised, as to their approach to this sort of thing. But hell, like you said, we haven't even got it yet. And they're already, so part of the deal about the other vaccines that they complain about are the ingredients, right? This is a bad, and this is a bad. And so.
Well, it boils down to a fundamental misunderstanding of either biology, chemistry, common sense. The one, thimerosal is one of those things that they were pointing out because it is a mercury acetate, right? Or has the word mercury in it, right? Well, I mean, okay, I get that you're scared of the word mercury because you realize mercury is a heavy metal that causes neurological damage. But that would be like saying, oh dear God, sodium and chloride are in this material right here.
Right.
So there's chlorine in this.
That's right.
It's table salt.
Yes.
If you isolate the sodium and the chlorine, yes, isolated from each other, they are absolutely dangerous and toxic. The sodium would explode and into a ball, and the chlorine would literally rip apart the atoms to complete its orbital. So it's just one of those failures to understand basic science, and this kind of boils into that Dunning-Kruger effect that we were talking about. These people learn just enough about something to get scared about something, but not enough to be able to fill in those gaps of knowledge. And unfortunately, after they learn a little bit about a topic, then they start filling in those gaps with BS. And that's where things go horribly wrong. I've had conversations with anti-vaxxers, and they always usually have the same talking point, and they know like small little talking points about stuff like that, and they'll bring them up. They have aborted fetus material in them. It's like, not since the 1950s when they made the initial cultured stuff, and that was for the MMR vaccine.
Right.
So these are things that, they hear the talking points amongst their people, but they don't actually look into the subject itself. And this is what goes back to good, solid skepticism. You hear something, you don't just take it at face value. You're like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Let me go follow up with that. Let me look this up.
Right.
And actually analyze this, and then see how valid it is.
Yeah.
And then you do the good. You do your homework. That's key. You do your homework, and you look these things up, and then you realize, okay, there's either something to it or something not to it.
Right.
And when it comes down to these anti-vaxxers, is sometimes there is a grain, and they make a mountain out of a molehill. So they say, oh, there's so go back to the aborted fetal tissue. It's like, okay, well, yeah, back in the 1950s, 1960s, when they were first developing these cultured vaccines, they did use aborted fetal material. But that was a long time ago. They don't do that anymore.
Right.
So, again, argument breaks down.
Epileptic Skeptic says everything is made of chemicals. Your ability to pronounce the ingredient is irrelevant.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's just been this running thing. One of the things, you know what, if you're watching and you've got an example, or if you've heard of an example of somebody using woo to hurt other people, just kind of put it in the chat there and let us talk about it. Because one of the things that got me motivated in this aspect of it was the anti-woo was this story about this 16-year-old kid who was killed by his parents following the instructions of a woo peddler instead of taking him to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just imagine, and how many, especially in the groups like that, how much harm do they do? The amount of harm that is done by not getting the vaccine is, that they're just seeing things wrong. And I wonder how much of it is just them wanting attention. These anti-vax, how much of it is they actually believe that stuff? How much, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I haven't spent enough time watching them.
I mean, I've dealt with some anti-vaxxers. I even had a conversation. There was a woman by the name of Heather Simpson, hardcore Christian, Trump-supporting evangelical woman. But she was an absolute attention. She just wanted. You could tell she wanted attention, and she would intentionally say things to get that attention.
Yes.
But then once you finally pin her to the wall, you realize there's no substance to it. Right. And you're sitting there asking her real hard questions, and it's just, you realize there's nobody home.
Yeah.
I mean, you're actually like, wow. You are just like, you're loud, but you're dumb.
Yeah. Well, there was another video I did, and this is Epileptic Skeptic said she wondered that too. Yeah. See, there was this other video I did about this couple whose baby starved to death. They were actual farmers. Mm-hmm. They sold their food at farmers markets, and their baby starved to death. And this guy's on video, and he is railing about science and medicine and how that's all fake and all this with his glasses on. You know, I mean, the hypocrisy right there. He starved his own kid to death in the name of his God.
Well,
and science
and I know what you're talking about. They were effectively making these homemade vegan concoctions that, you can live a vegan life, but you have to do so well informed.
Right.
And when it comes down to an infant versus an adult, the nutritional needs are very different.
Yeah.
And they were way out there, and they were also way off the marker when it came down to that. And the child subsequently effectively starved to death.
Mm-hmm. Starved to death.
And it was sad, to see. And it's like, you have to stand in awe. It's like, wow. I mean, what the heck, man? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we stray too far away from the point, I just kind of want to bring this up. Junk Shop Library pointed out that even if it is aborted fetal tissue, he'd rather have that than freaking rubella.
Yeah.
Or Ebola or any of them, really. But if that were the case, yeah. Good morning, Chris, the atheist pastor. You know what, Chris? If you want to join in, I'll send you a link. If you get the urge to be on screen. Feel pretty.
I remember when I was speaking with Heather Simpson. I asked her if you heard there was a chemical called adenosine triphosphate in your food, would you be worried? And she just kind of sat there and was like, yeah, I would be worried. And it's like, okay, ATP is literally what powers your cells. Without adenosine triphosphate, you would die. And there is no life without adenosine triphosphate. That is part of your Krebs cycle.
That's true. There are probably a lot of things in your body that would be harmful to you if you were to consume them.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's the other one, the formaldehyde argument. It's like you do realize that the amount of formaldehyde that is contained in your annual flu vaccine can be metabolized by an infant within minutes, and your body produces far more formaldehyde as a byproduct every day compared to what is in that little vaccine shot. Mm-hmm. And so when you realize that a newborn or at least a young infant can metabolize the amount of formaldehyde within minutes that's contained in a vaccine, it's a big nothing burger.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. I guess formaldehyde is a known carcinogen, but I mean, it's just like, it's the dose that makes the poison.
Yeah. Good morning. Well, Chris, the atheist pastor, is here. Good morning, Chris. It's nice to see you around. Haven't seen you in a day or three. And Paul Cammish. Paul is up to no good, causing trouble. Let me see. He had to stop work. Told him the damn show was on. Damn it. He had to be here. So thank you, Paul, for joining us this morning. And Chris from the Atheist Pastor changed his channel name to the Hereticals, and he's now made the offer of he might come on this week. We'll get him on and we'll have him talk about that and explain it all. So, see if I missed anybody. Nope. Sounds good. Okay. Yes. So some of the things that these people peddle, again, we were talking about, do they believe it or do they not believe it? How much of this stuff is it that they actually believe and they're really trying to foster, and how much, and that was one of the things, I don't know. I've got the friends of mine that I call the Woo Fighters. I don't know if you know Jay from the Nevermore Tavern, Jen from Jen's Little Corner. They're kind of anti-woo peddlers or pseudoscience against pseudoscience. And I'd need to get them and get their information, find out more about it from them, because that's not really my specialty. I just know these people are out there, the AntiVaxxers. And I think, of course, what was her name? The lady,
Heather Simpson. Yeah, she's just one amongst many. Now, granted, she claimed the last time I came across her, she claims she's no longer an anti-vax. Because I guess you can only browse, you can only have so many engagements with somebody, mm-hmm. and point out to them that they're wrong so many times before they start to realize they're wrong. Because effectively, what I forced her to do was actually start looking into the subject. And of course, the more you learn about something, the more she realized that she was incorrect about it. All these things that she was saying, she realized, oh, wait, I was wrong. And instead of really just admitting wholesale that she was wrong, she just deleted all of her stuff.
Yeah. I've heard her name. Is she the one that Ethan is going to be on her channel or was on her channel?
I honestly don't know.
A Christian apologist?
I know Aaron Raw and I had a debate with her and her pastor friend or whatever it is, and Aaron just ripped them to shreds. I hardly was able to get a good word in there.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but Ethan, I think that may be the person that he was talking about. He's been invited to be on her show or something. Good morning, Santi the Sane. Hope you're doing good. He just got mandatory vacation. Ruh-roh. Is that good or bad? I don't know if it was good or bad or not. I don't know. We were, yeah, I don't know. And Paul, yes, there's Paul. Brainbug, I'm just catching up. Epileptic Skeptic. Okay. Epileptic Skeptic says, I remember trying to explain to a classmate in high school why ghosts and horoscopes were nonsense. Now she's a new mother and an anti-vaxxer. It's just, it may be, and I could be wrong, it may be that some people's brains are just wired to be predisposed to believing this stuff.
Yeah.
It may be.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Here, Dragons in Genesis. Good morning. Dragons, we need to, I think work on getting you on the show. I think anyway, says, I'm not afraid of these chemicals because I believe they're harmful. I'm afraid of them because attempting to pronounce big words makes me sound stupid. See? Yeah, I think you mentioned that earlier. Somebody mentioned that earlier about their, yeah. Yep. Well, there's just a lot of woo there, a lot of misinformation that gets people hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I remember whenever back in the 90s, I think it was the 90s or early 2000s, somewhere in there, they were going to put the Gardasil, I think it is, they were going to make Gardasil shots mandatory for young girls or something. And the religious nutbacks in Texas were going crazy because I may be talking about the wrong medicine, but I'm pretty sure it was Gardasil. If that's the one that keeps you from getting the HPV.
Human papillomavirus.
Yeah. So if that's the one, the people on the right were just going nuts. And the problem they had with it was the implication that the girls were having sex. It's like, no, that's not the point at all. The deal is, if they have sex, you want them to be protected from this thing. But, they just couldn't get it. They would rather their daughters be exposed to this and get that thing or be at risk for it than to just give them the medicine. And that, in my mind, that's not right. You ain't right in the head when you're balanced. The scales that you weigh things to balance is that far off of normal. That's scary. People like that hurt other people. Well, as said example, their own daughters. Mm-hmm. That was a big time thing.
It was just like when we made the big push to get comprehensive sex ed here taught in Washington State. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, we have a governor and a legislative body that has some common freaking sense. But we had people like Representative Matt Shea and a bunch of his dim-witted cronies out there protesting comprehensive sex ed. And there was quite a lot of people who showed up. Now, granted, it's a loud minority that all showed up. So it made it look like there was a lot of people, but it was, this loud minority that all showed up at the same time. They're all typically part of the same congregation. Right. They come in on a bus kind of thing. And they show up on the Capitol steps saying, it's their God-given right to teach their kids however they want, and we don't need the schools teaching them about, sinful things like hanky-panky. Mm-hmm. And you have to really stand in awe. It's like, okay, for one, it's not just about teaching your kids about hanky-panky. There's a whole bunch of stuff, when you learn about what comprehensive sex ed means, it's a whole gamut of people.
Right. There's a lot more to
puberty, what is happening to my body as a kid? And you see in areas that do teach comprehensive sex ed, you see the rate of STDs are significantly lower. The rate of unplanned pregnancies are significantly lower.
Right.
The implications that you would see, like juxtaposed to abstinence-only education. You see with abstinence-only education that there's a high rate of STDs, there's a high rate of unplanned pregnancies, and because the teenagers will engage in secretive activity.
Yes, they will. Yeah. As a former teenager myself, I can speak to this. Yes, this is, I didn't get the herp derp, but yeah, I could see how, yes, abstinence only would have been bad. That would have been real quick. Paul says it's his first day back after work in isolation and they expect him to work during the damn show. And he doesn't think, I agree. Go, Paul. Yes, the damn show. So thank you for that. Just Santi the Sane says, just until Thursday, my dad got angry. I woke up feeling sick and he gave me till Thursdays to get better. I don't think I understand that. I'm sorry, brother. I'm learning. Hey, Paul bought me a coffee. He says, have a coffee on him. I don't know if you guys know, I am now monetizable and I have super chat available. So, I even got a button. So that's kind of cool. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it this morning. Nice for waking up the little bell. Let's see. Oh, Epileptic Skeptic wanted to make a point as to what we were saying earlier about the girls and why the people in Texas, etc. It wasn't just Texas. Don't get me wrong. Let me not just vilify Texas. There were a whole bunch of states around that had religious nutbags in them who had issues with this problem. So, or this vaccine. So, but Epileptic Skeptic wants to say, quote, I know my daughter isn't a slut. She doesn't need anything like that. Right? So that's exactly the kind of mental attitude, just one mental frame taken by how many people that put their daughters at risk. They're whore daughters who are out whoring around. They just wouldn't admit it. So, as a man whore.
It's not just the daughters. It's also the men as well, because they found out Gardasil was important to give to us guys. I mean,
yes.
When I joined the Navy, I was still technically a teenager. I was 18 years old, and I was 19 when I got it. Back when it was really being rolled out, I was part of the whole. Okay, let's give it to the young men as well, because obviously we don't know everything about HPV yet, but we do know it causes the ovarian cancer.
Yeah.
And we do know that men, although are typically asymptomatic in most capacities, they are a carrier. So that's how women obviously get it. It's next partners.
Yes.
So either man gives it to a woman, or a woman gives it to a woman, or man gives it to man. However it happens, it's transmitted along the line. So it's not just something that only women can get. I mean,
of course,
men have it too, obviously.
Oh, no, I get that totally. And we all understand that, I believe. I got a really smart chat. I think the deal is that they believe the implication was this, and it's just a bunch of crap. Yeah, absolutely. Men give it to the girl, right? And Brainbug says, these are the same people who see Planned Parenthood as nothing but an abortion mill, ignoring all the women's health work they do. And this is absolutely true, word for word. That's exactly right. Planned Parenthood is nothing but a place for whores to go, whores. It's like Moors, but it's different. Whores to go get their stuff. You know what I mean? And that's not really the case. How many women have gone to Planned Parenthood and had, even just sex education or birth control or any of those other things, STD treatments?
Well, it's not even just that. It's also for OB and OBGYN, gynecological.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things that Planned Parenthood provides to their community.
True. Absolutely. Real quick, Chris, the atheist pastor, threw us down with $2 Australian. So to support the channel. Thank you very much, Chris. Chris needs to get monetized soon so we can throw him some dollars back. So carry on. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood is an absolutely fantastic organization with absolutely fantastic people. And they provide services to low-income individuals and lower-income areas quite often. And quite often, they're the only people providing those necessary services. It's not just for women, it's for men as well. Men are able to go into Planned Parenthood, and they're able to go have STD tests. They're able to talk to a doctor about also a myriad of things. It's amazing, actually, what they offer there for men and women.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, it's seeing the people railing against Planned Parenthood for just one of the many services that they offer it makes you just want to, it's maddening. You want to bang your head against the damn wall.
Absolutely. And I could be wrong. I'm not an expert in Planned Parenthood, but my understanding is that not all Planned Parenthoods even do abortion. Some of them don't even do that. I could be wrong.
For them on that.
Yeah.
So I know if I speak either way on that one, I may be wrong and I might regret it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really think it's a point of vilification really for them, to be honest. And if there's Christians out there who have an issue on abortion, I would love to talk to them about how their God treats babies and fetuses and things like that. I mean, and something else. These people
Isn't there like an abortion thing in the Bible?
Yeah.
If I remember right.
At least one. We can come up with different ways of which God has done things to people or babies or whatever. And, and some of them, like, there's this notion of this purity of life, but God doesn't display that at all. God kills people man, woman, and child on a whim throughout the Old Testament. So I know they don't like bringing up the Old Testament, but hey, you got to own that shit, right? That's all I'm saying. Just own that shit. Let's see. Junk Shop Library says Planned Parenthood is suffering in our state. We've only got 3 left. If you're in Chattanooga, for example, your nearest option is freaking Nashville. And see, these things, and this is led by ignorance. And once again, it's to hurt and oppress women. It's surprised? Not surprised. Christian religious people taking the opportunity, any opportunity they can, to hurt and oppress other people while smiling and going, we are here with, it's like we come in peace, and they've got a dagger. Their whole deal is to oppress and hurt other people. And that's one of the things that really gets me. That's one of the things that got me motivated into doing what I do, is that these people I'm not against people of faith necessarily. I'm against religious harm. Using your religion to hurt other people in various ways. And at every opportunity, women, if you're out there, at every opportunity, religious people or religion, or even just the text itself, is either after you, oppressing you, or vilifying you. I can't understand why any woman would know these things and still be a religious person of the faith. It just cognitive dissonance.
It's grooming. I mean, it's really what it is. They're born into it. It's beaten into them day and night, and it's effectively something that they see as an objective truth.
Yes. Well, I knew my chat is just the wonderfulest, smartest chat in the entire universe. Here we go. Brainbug says the bitter water, and I remember hearing about this before. It does rattle apart in the back of my brain. The bitter water is essentially divine abortion instructions in Exodus 15:22 through 26. So, there wasn't a lot of, ask your witch doctor. That's, I'm working on a series of, commercials for the show, and I'm writing that down. Dun, 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 dun. Your witch doctor. Thank you very much. God equals the square root of -1. I am going to steal that. I'm stealing it. Someday you're going to pop on, you're going to be watching along, and a little commercial be going on and be me going, ask your witch doctor if, exorcism is right for you. And you'll be like, he stole that from me. That's coming. Got
it. That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are so many. See, this is one of the reasons why the community that I became known for was able to really just keep going, because there's a fire hose of BS.
Yes.
There's no end to it. As soon as one thing you think dies goes away, a new thing will pop up.
Yes.
You'll have I remember for a while the miracle mineral solution that was going around. I don't know if you heard about that one. I'm talking.
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Enlighten me. So miracle mineral stuff was. This is a mess. Okay. So an individual who kind of ran this church organization his name is David something, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
He came up with what he called miracle mineral solution. It is sodium hypochlorite, if I remember right, which is, and this stuff is effectively industrial bleach. And he was making all sorts of wild claims about this, convincing people to drink this stuff.
Really?
Saying that it'll cure what ails you.
I have not heard about him. Not surprising.
Yeah, and so this guy was peddling this stuff for a while. And, he was encouraging people to give it to their kids, their family members, whatever. And there's even some videos of a third world woman giving a cup of this stuff to her infant, and the infant suddenly just starts screaming after that. I mean, it is horrifying. Like, well, yeah, the infant's screaming. You just gave the child bleach.
Yeah,
you're drinking bleach.
Yeah. And we're walking.
So then you fast forward a little while ago later. I remember I was talking with Henrick Badger about that from the Friendly Atheist on Patheos, about how he got in trouble with the law for a while, and I thought he was gone. This is something that I thought was gone to the netherworld of woo. But that jerk face pops back up again. Man. After you think they're gone, no, he's just like Jim Baker. Yeah, he goes to jail, and then he's back again.
Yeah, he should rot in prison for a very long time. I want to point out real quick that thank you. We got some scriptures here. Our awesome peeps, the Exodus 15:22. I wrote those down, and also dragons in Genesis. Thank you very much. The Bible commands abortion if the husband suspects the wife was cheating. Numbers 5:11-31. I've written these down, and I will study these and look back into those because they will be definitely used by me during conversation with with believers going on in the future. So yeah, thank you for that very much, guys. Also, Paul mentions that in Ireland, the church would at least look after the mothers while they had the child. Which was kind of nice, even though they wouldn't help them with abortion. They would at least look after them until the 90s when they found 500 babies buried at the back of the convent. So that, I've heard about that too, that story. Thank you for that one, Paul. Yeah. So sometimes on the face of this, there's a lot of ugly on the backside, absolutely.
So anyways, I honestly don't know scriptures like, that.
Well, that's why I want to learn those. I appreciate them throwing them out there. And then, if I'll go examine them and then you'll hear me bringing them back up. Also, grumpy old dude, God, wanted to ask real quick. There's JJ. JJ, thank you for making it to the show. Native Atheist, thank you for popping in. And Justin from the Empathetic Atheist. He is here as well. He's also a content creator. If you're not familiar with him, go give him a subscribe. He's got a great show going on too. So there was a JJ Del Angel from Austin. Good morning. Nice to see you here. So Epileptic, or Grumpy Old Dude, wanted to ask you, Daniel, have you heard or do you remember Jilly Juice?
I do remember that, actually.
Okay, so
that's the cabbage stewing BS, if I remember right.
Is that what that was? Yeah, okay, yeah. It says, Epileptic Skeptic says some weirdo girl tried selling cabbage soaked in vinegar as a cure-all. She was on the Dr. Phil side. Yeah.
Look at the chat.
The people buy this stuff.
It's the funny thing about Dr. Phil. The guy, his doctorate was actually in botany.
Was it
he's
really?
He's not a PhD in medicine or psychology. He's a botanist.
He's a botanist, yeah. So Jilly Juice slightly better than Kool-Aid. Yeah, I guess it was. I don't know. The Jilly Juice doesn't sound too harmful. The one before that the industrial bleach. Yeah, that sounds
the miracle mineral solution. Yeah, and I was
pretty rough.
Thanks for bringing that back up because I had a point on that.
Okay.
So I remember Henrick Badger and I we went after it was up in Leavenworth, Washington, not to be confused with the other Leavenworth.
Okay. Not with the bad.
But they came up to Leavenworth, Washington to host some big thing, and we were able to rather successfully put a lot of pressure on the hotel, effectively, to never again host that individual.
Really?
Because we got it in the news and everything. Henrick wrote about it, and it just blew up in their face. Anyhow, though, so fast forward. So then I hadn't heard about very much. I mean, the guy's still there, and it's nasty because it's part. He uses like the church excuse of to muddy the water, right. But he's obviously he's still around, still kind of peddling, but not in the same capacity as he used to be. But then fast forward now to just a month ago, our president makes the same damn comment of bleach, and sure enough, we have a whole influx of calls to poison control, where people drink bleach and they're suddenly now when they're going to the bathroom, the stomach lining that lines their intestines is now coming out of their body, because that's one of the things that happens if you drink bleach.
That hurts right here. It hurts. These people, I mean, and that they would propagate this nonsense, and that they're, but there is a distinct, I mean, it's a solid third of our population. I used to think it wasn't. I used to think it was a smaller number, but there's a solid third of our population that is just out there. They're just over there. If there's any woo to be peddled or nonsense to be, if there's an issue and the wrong side to be on, that group is going to find that side, whether it be women's rights, trans rights, abortion, healthcare, it doesn't matter. Whatever issue comes up, they're going to find the wrong side to be. It's like they sit around going, how can we be jackass douchebags today? Oh, look, there's a thing, kittens. They want to protect kittens. We're against these no protecting kittens group. You know what I mean? It's just a solid group of jackasses out there that seems to be driving the nutbaggery in our country. Pardon the rant.
George Carlin.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, George Carlin.
George Carlin?
Absolutely. Yeah, he nailed it. The famous former, late comedian. He said, think of how stupid the average person really is. Yeah. And then realize that half of those people are even stupider than that.
That's right. That's true. Actually, I've heard that, and that's one of my go-tos. Yeah, you'll hear me saying that because, oh man. And you'll also hear me say, God must love stupid people because he made so many of them. Just kept cranking them out.
I've heard that one too.
It's like, let's put this machine on dumbass and just ching, 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 ching. And they come out with their little hats and their little goatees and their little tattoos of the rebel flag. Don't tread on me
I remember,
on this one.
When he was talking about putting, is there a way to, when President Dingbat decided to say, oh, we should put like a UV light inside of the body. The first thing that came to my mind as soon as I heard that, I was thinking about what radiation burns are like. A lot of times we refer to them as three-dimensional sunburn. So imagine how a sunburn feels like on your skin. Now imagine that going into your body.
Right. Yeah, that would.
That's what a UV light would do to you.
Yes, not as fun as it sounds. Over on Facebook, Shane Stapley says religion makes stupid people. That sounds okay. I got that. That sounds perfect. But they also prey on the weak, the simple-minded, things like that. Whenever we talk about, there's this mother who killed her daughter and burned her in the backyard and did all these crazy things. And whenever we talk about it, they're like, oh my goodness, well, she had a mental problem and, blah, blah. She just kind of had a mental, I'm like, yeah, that's the deal. Whenever you take this inflammatory, incendiary, like the Bible, and you give it to somebody who's got a distinct detachment from reality. For example, maybe somebody who believes in the Bible, shit like this happens. They start hearing voices or anything. And whenever you hear voice hearing and you roll that up with any kind of deity, bad things tend to happen. And we've got examples of it, of mothers killing their daughters, of people hurting other people because of the religious voice that they heard in their head. And so, in other words, these religions target these people. They target, the weak-minded. They target the poor. They target those who are in need or desperate, whose mental state is not solid. That's like just tasty goodness to these religious nutbags.
So it's actually funny, and I don't know. It almost seems like it's something that's intentionally rushed through in the topic.
Yeah.
But I know when I was taking personality psychology and abnormal psychology, about a year ago. One of the things that was discussed was schizo and schizoid type personality disorders and or schizotypal personality disorders as well, and schizophrenia. Under the list of dysfunction, religion is put on under there. It's like these individuals are highly religious,
right? And
it's funny that they don't like to dig into that topic. You bring it up with the professor, and they really just want to skip stones. They're like, let's get past that. Let's go talk about the other issues that are. Let's not talk about the religious part of it. It's like, well, why not?
Right.
The elephant in the room.
Absolutely. There's just so many times. In this particular show, we've talked about the dad who starved his kid to death. We've talked about now the mother who stabbed him, then burned her kid to death. These things, in the one case, I don't know about her. I think she did that in England, and they took her into the mental facility system. She's like in the system now as far as a mental patient of some kind.
I'm gonna go adjust the window real fast.
Okay.
The sun's starting to finally come up, and I got the sun in my eyes.
There you go. I will rattle while you do that. And then in the other case, we had the people who decided to starve their kids to death for their faith. Essentially, a lot of this is hurting their children or other people in the name of faith. And that's one of the things that I kind of have a pretty big issue with. Religious extremism can't be distinguished from craziness. See, that's the exactly correct. And then Shane mentioned over here in Facebook, is that caste system or religion? I understand the confusion in this particular context, and I need to, just quickly, religion is one thing, caste system is another. They can be, you can have, they're neither mutually exclusive nor mutually inclusive. You can have both or neither. I don't know about caste system. If you have caste system without religion, how that damage is used to damage the psyche of people or control beyond it being a caste system of, hierarchy. But with religion, there always comes, all we got is one word in religion describes oppression: women, right? Name me a religion, especially one of the Judeo-Christian religions, that does not oppress their women in one fashion or another, and you just can't do it. It goes on and goes on about, whether it's modesty in the hair or full burqas, it doesn't matter. Or just the subservient to men. There's nothing but oppression whenever these things come about. Wrote a book. Check it out. I wrote a book. Yeah, I did a long time ago. Many moons.
Have you ever used that idiom, Chris? Religion provides people comfort and hope in a world that is torn apart by religion.
I've never used it, but I've heard it. I have heard that. Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, and God equals the square root of -1 says it's about control. Absolutely true, 100% of the way. There's a thing. Women have power innately that men are afraid of. And then you get a strong woman and educate them. Men don't like that. Apparently. So I'm all about all this woo just reminded me of, if I haven't heard, David Avocado Wolf and Quado. I come on just as he was
still out
fading.
there.
Is he still out there?
I one time absolutely ripped into him.
What's his stick?
So David Avocado Guacamole Wolf. The guy, oh my goodness, where do I start? This guy is about as nutty as squirrel crap.
Right. Okay. I've heard some things. Chat, if you want to.
He believes in a lot of this new age woo that's going around there. I mean, he mixes a lot of the whole Chinese traditional medication, but then adds that goop spin,
Yeah.
But he
Okay.
is a true old school snake oil salesman.
Brainbug
And
says he's a naturopath. He says Brainbug says
he's a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
He's a nutbag is what he is.
Epileptic Skeptic says he has no scientific or medical background. Native Atheist, good morning. Duck. Oh yeah, Drive-By is here. Johnny Drive-By, good morning. Sorry, brother. Carry on with your ranting.
And it's actually funny. He talks. If you watch how his chats are, he talks about his vitality and how he looks so young and all this. And they show this image of him that is a very attractive image of him. Yet, if you look how he looks in person, he looks like crap.
Oh, does he? Yeah, I have to look him up.
Yeah, he's aging, and not gracefully. Some people age like wine. He's aging like milk.
I hadn't seen him. I'll have to. Again, I've heard of him. His name is familiar, but I don't know about his woo.
Yeah, no, I actually I have some videos, and so if you go on my the website that I have, scientificatheist.com, and you type in David Avocado Wolf, we have several articles on him. And one of the ones that I went after him was on his salt that he sells. He is known for his Himalayan salt that they like.
Okay.
And Himalayan salt is it's kind of fading out, but it's still around. It hit that bump about 5 years ago with the salt lamp.
Well, tell us about it. Because I have what is it? I have Himalayan salt on the table downstairs. So tell me why it's. Tell me about. I don't know anything about it.
I'm not going to go tell you if something tastes good or better or whatever.
Well, salt is salt.
Obviously, taste is subjective. But so what the Himalayan salts are, the reason why they have that color is the impurities. And actually, I remember it was funny. I was talking to some chemists, and they were telling me, the reason, what was really actually healthier, the Himalayan salt or regular iodized salt. And it was determined that the regular iodized salt was actually technically healthier, because the reason why the Himalayan salt has the colors that it has is due to heavy metal impurities. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, they're not like huge amount of heavy metal impurities. So, it's pardon the pun, you're taking it with a grain of salt.
Of course.
but
of course.
But, it was, you're looking at these two and you're like, okay, yeah, one of them technically is less healthier because of the heavy metal impurity. Mm-hmm. But David Avocado Guacamole, whatever, Wolf, was going around and saying, that this Himalayan salt was so much better for you. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing some of the things he was saying. So what he did is he took like a lot of snake oil salesmen, he took a grain of truth, nuts, just a small thing. And then he built this mountain of bullshit on top of it. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. Bull crap on top of it. And what he said is effectively, the reason why you get thirsty or lose water is because you don't have enough salt in there. But then after that, I kid you not, in the video itself, you can look, he literally says, if it wasn't for the salt in the ocean, the water would just float off the planet, off the face of the earth is what he said. He said if it wasn't for the salt in the ocean, the water would float off the face of this earth. And you have to be like, hold on, wait a minute. Are freshwater ponds, lakes, and rivers not a thing in this? Wait, what? But that's what he said. And so you have to sit there and kind of scratch your head. You're like, no, that's not how that works. But then he continues on and says, that the reason why we can't drink the salt water is there's too much bromine or something like that. And bromine is a chemical, it's an element that is on the periodic table. I remember right, bromine is one of the few that elements that is a liquid at room temperature. It's a red, it's a very dark blood red color. There, and it makes a pretty noxious gas.
Yeah.
You could use it actually to dissolve gold in a bromine reaction.
Yeah, we used to use it to instead of chlorine in a swimming pool, in a hot tub and stuff.
Yeah. If I remember right, it goes on the pure. I'm probably wrong, but I think it's bromine, chlorine, and fluorine. There, it's in that same period, if I remember right. But anyways, yeah, he was saying there was, he said something about dolphins, that they were able to process it, and it's like, that. The more I looked into this stuff, the more I realized, like, this guy is just, but there he is, just talking out of it.
Yeah. And then he's got a following.
Oh yeah, and you just watch. He's talking to this group of hippies, and they're just eating it up. Like, oh yeah, you're so smart.
Yeah. They just eat it up. It's kind of shameful.
Oh, again, absolutely. So, I looked into it, and honestly, for one, bromine, in its pure form, in its elemental form, is very rare. To just find on Earth. So I mean, you don't really take in as much for bromide as compared to other stuff. Right. And you're definitely not taking in elemental bromine. You'd be killing yourself.
Yeah, and it's there's a small, tiny fraction in the stuff that we use.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously you'll find in other kinds of chemicals. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to claim to know everything. So there could be, bromide chemicals that our body actually needs because, I mean, it's just all about the chemistry, what is it attached to?
Yeah. Boomer, you pointed out that bromine is used to fumigate some crops after harvest as well. There's lots of different uses for it. But, of course, none of this is in its pure form. This is all diluted or changed in different ways.
Yeah, bromide.
Brainbug says that David Avocado Wolf has a following of millions, which is scary,
and,
Yeah,
and this, when it comes down to when Facebook said they were going to be really cracking down on all this BS, right? I initially was going like, well, I may be out of a hobby here because I guess if Facebook's finally going to be cracking down on things, I guess I won't be doing much in the pseudoscience department. But go figure, David Wolf is still doing his thing, and he's got a great following.
That's right.
He's still hawking his BS. And I'm sitting here going like, okay, Facebook, you said you were going to be cracking down on all the fake stuff, but yet here you go. And you have the crown-wearing king of fools here, along with Dr. Oz and these other jackholes.
Well, you remember I told you about that woo peddler who got that kid killed because the parents went there? He had videos on YouTube, and they were still up at the time I made my video about him and their situation. He was still out there peddling his murderous woo. Still there, despite this crackdown by YouTube and whatnot. Real quick, Dragons in Genesis says, Wolf believes gravity causes disease. Arthritis has to do with gravity, which is a toxin. And as soon as you get upside down, you take gravity, a toxin, and you turn it into a medicine. Oh, that hurts the brain. Oh, there's so much wrong with that. I remember when he was talking about
gravity being a toxin. That one has been the butt end of so many people who are scientifically literate of their jokes. They're like, "Oh, careful, gravity's a toxin."
That's
David Wolf said it.
It hurts right here.
There's other things. I remember he was saying chocolate is an octave of the sun, or something like that. And so it's like apparently, like he said, the cacao, the tree, is part of the sacred heart of the sun, and so somehow he's like obsessed with chocolate in this way that it's somehow like this positive, ethereal, solar energy kind of thing. So effectively, if you're eating chocolate, you're eating sun energy. And I'm just like,
manna from heaven.
Yeah, right. I was like, the last thing I would want to be eating is a fusion reaction in my mouth. That would hurt.
It's not as fun as it sounds. Epileptic Skeptic says maybe his judgment has been clouded by his lifelong dream to become a dolphin. That's possible. You never know. Have you seen the guy? Yeah. Yeah, they're talking about a salt lamp. Atheist pastor has a salt lamp. He enjoys it. Dragons in Genesis says he got a salt lamp for the muted light. Didn't realize it was supposed to be magic. See, that was the whole deal. Our Himalayan salt lamp. That's what we're talking about. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. They're pretty. They're cool looking.
Yeah. And they're magical.
That was the part that made me beat my head against the wall.
Yeah.
You know, and then you start asking questions. Oh, it brings in positive vibes. Well, what is positive vibes?
True. Yeah, that's right. It all brings us back to woo. That's why I think, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about and go forward and discuss getting maybe an anti-woo segment.
That'd be fun.
Because that's right up your alley, and then we could talk about whether or not it's pre-recorded or whether you want to do it live or how you want to do that. But I think that's something we ought to focus on, because that's not only is it dangerous, and there's a lot of it out there to be, have a light shined upon it, but it's also interesting. People find it interesting. So
yeah, I mean, it's
the whole industry.
It's what I kind of became known for. That's why my nickname is this. It's kind of a play off Bill Nye, but it's the pseudoscience guy. I remember someone called me that. I was like, "Hey, you're the pseudoscience guy, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
There you go.
And apparently, it just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of ran with it. Like, all right, you're gonna guys call me the pseudoscience guy, and so it became my actual. If you go facebook.com/the pseudoscience guy, that's actually my profile name now.
Wow.
And it's also my Instagram profile name, the pseudoscience guy.
Yeah, we should play to that. I'm all for it.
Yeah, so it was. I ran with it. So I mean, it's like, all right, fine, I'll be the pseudoscience guy.
Yeah, so that's it. Maybe that's what we ought to do, is get it on the group, or get it on the chat, get some anti-pseudoscience stuff. You know what? It is after the hour. Thank you very much for joining me this morning, Daniel. Sometimes we run longer, but I've kind of got stuff. I got to go do that voodoo that I do so well this morning, because I'm working on something. I got an evil plan of doom and despair, and I need to get on it. And so I'm going to hurry up and get on that. Good morning, Jen. You got here. We're leaving, Jen. Bye, Jen. Air hugs. So I want to thank you real quick. If you want to plug something and tell somebody where they can find you real quick before we head off.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can find me. Google my name, Daniel Fisk Bennett. You can also go on the website, scientificatheist.com, or look up Atheists Against Pseudoscientific Nonsense on Facebook. It's not hard to find. There are craps everywhere.
There you go. Well, that's a good idea. I see Jen here in the thing. Jen, again, one of the names I mentioned earlier in the podcast when I was talking about the woo fighters, the anti-woo people. She would be willing to do some pseudoscience, anti-pseudoscience stuff too. So maybe I could invite her back next Monday with you, and we could talk anti-pseudoscience stuff, because that'd be a big fun. Would you be up for that, Jen?
So much of it. It's like attacking religion.
Yeah. Never-ending pot of fun. Yeah. So hopefully she'll be up for that, and we can get that. That sounds like a plan, because that's right up her alley and your alley too. So I enjoy that sort of thing. Okay, guys, I appreciate you. I'm gonna be careful. I'm gonna send you a tweet, Miss Jen, a tweet message, and we'll get you pinned in. Thank you, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a great week. And tomorrow, Andy is not going to be here. Andy is in quarantine at his workplace, so he's not going to be able to make the show. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do tomorrow yet. I may just go, you're stuck with me, and I may just talk, or I might invite people or throw an open invite to some friends that I've got and see who wants to show up. So I don't know what's happening tomorrow, since Andy's not going to be here, but I'll figure out something. So you guys have a great day. Daniel, thank you for stopping by. Chat folk, thank you for stopping by, and we will see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.